Hi, friends. I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to three crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some, but then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi, friends. It's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I am so happy to have you here today checking out the show. Now, I can't believe it is December already. Oh my goodness, I don't know where the time's gone, but I feel that end of the year coming up. Yes, of course, the holidays are coming, and I feel a lot of stress and pressure and overwhelm to do all of those holiday things that you need to do, check all those boxes, get all the things done. But I also feel that excitement of a year ending. I love having things come to an end, and I love having like a fresh start moving into the new year. I am a sucker for New Year's resolutions and really just feeling energized and pumped and having a plan for the new year. I usually do it in September and then I do it in January as well. But before I can even start thinking about planning or goals or all the things I want to accomplish in 2023, I have to take a moment to stop, reflect, and really take a huge, big picture of what this past year was. So that's what we're going to chat about today. We are going to chat about doing a year in a review. Now, a lot of businesses will do a year in review and share it for their potential customers or share it for potential sponsors or supporters. And it's a great way to keep connected. It's a great way to really ask the hard questions. It's a great way to be open and honest with your audience. But the year in review I want to chat about today is I want it to be a little bit more personal. So the questions might get a little bit harder, and I want you to dig a little bit deeper because this year in review, it's going to be for you. So for me, I know my year in review is going to really deal with not only business, but my family and my lifestyle and all of those things, because I know it's so intertwined for me. Like being a business owner and a very busy mama, it goes hand in hand. They help each other, they work against each other, but it is so intertwined that I can't look at one and not at the other. So I probably will go back and forth and really look at both. And I think that's important because there's so many times you can look, at numbers for your business or goals that you may have achieved or didn't achieve. But if you're not taking the whole picture into perspective, I think you're missing out a little bit on that. So for me, I want this year in review to be something that really hits home for you. It's going to be something that you can really work with and figure out things for yourself and your business. And then you can have a plan for the new year. Then you can get excited for goals you're going to create. Then you can get super pumped for all the things you want to do. But you need to first slow down, take the time to stop, take the time to reflect, take the time to know where you are, and then you can build on where you can go from. But you also need to take the time to see like what worked and what didn't. And all those little things that got you to where you are, I think are really important. So when we are thinking about this year in review, before we even get into it, there's a few things I want you to consider and think about. So the first thing I want you to consider, and I said I want it to be both personal and business, I really want you to consider when we're reflecting and we're asking these questions and I'm sharing you some of my experiences from this year, I want you to consider taking in all of the information. So what I mean by that is I find sometimes, like I said, we get so fixated on, this goal, what if it didn't happen, if it did happen, like all the things, but maybe there's more to the story. And that's what I want you to consider when I say take in the whole picture. Like if you had some family emergency, if you had something else come up, if all these other things, maybe that's why you didn't get a goal. I really want you to take that into the information that you are reflecting on. I don't want you just to look at it and say, I didn't hit that goal. Oh, I can't believe it. I suck. Oh my God. And kind of go down that rabbit hole. I want you to look at the whole picture. I mean, think about it. If someone told you a few years ago that there was going to be a huge worldwide pandemic and, things were going to shut down and businesses were going to have to change and adapt and we'd all be on Zoom calls and, you probably wouldn't believe them. I know I probably wouldn't have believed them, but it did. It happened. So I think really understanding the whole picture when you are creating this year in review, it's important. It's something to consider, and it's something really to put everything into perspective. And that's what this really is about. That year in review, it's about renewing your perspective. It's about taking in all that information and then building on for next year. The next thing I want you to think about when we start talking about this year in review is I really want you to think about like lessons learned. So if there's going to be things we're looking at, some of our highs, some of our lows, I don't want to just focus on the high and it was amazing. I want to focus on the high and like how did you get there? How did it make you feel? How can we replicate that again? And then a low, like I don't want you to focus on, it didn't happen. I'm upset about this. It's like why it didn't happen. What did I learn from that? What can I take from this information and build forward? What can I take from this information and make the next year even more incredible? So really, really think about lessons learned rather than like highs and lows and they happened. I feel like that's kind of the difference about this personal year in review rather than something you're sending out just to your customers. The ones you send out your customers, you're just sharing them information. They don't need to know the whys. They don't need to know the lessons you learned. But this year in review, it's for you. I want you to really use it and help you build all your goals for next year. The third thing I want you to really think about when you are doing this year in review, and it's to celebrate everything. I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, but I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in like number goals that may or may not have happened that we forget we've done a lot of things to even get there, right? So I want you to celebrate, really focus on everything about the details that we're taking in, and then you can go through the whys, then you can do all the things you need to do. But I want you to celebrate the things you've done this year. And it might not look like you thought it was going to look. It probably won't. That's the reality of it. And we're going to celebrate things with our business and with our family and with ourselves and with I want the whole picture in this year in review. It's just not a snapshot of just business, because we all know we're super busy. Our life of business is not an entity to itself. It's combined with everything we do every day. All right, are you ready for this year in review? If you want to grab a notebook, if you want to do some typing, I'm going to throw out some questions for you, and I'm going to share with you as well some of my things that happened this year. 2022 was a big year for me. I had a lot of big ideas and projects. I had some successes and I had some failures as well. But I have learned a lot, and I am ready to prepare and plan and have huge goals for 2023. So let's do this together. Okay, so the first thing I want you to look at for your year in review are your accomplishments. Maybe you set yourself some really large goals this year. Maybe one accomplishment turned into something else. Maybe things adjusted and changed. Who knows? But I want you to really take some time brainstorming all those things that happened to you this year that you are proud of. So for me, one of my biggest goals this year was that I took the Marie Forleo B School. It's one of those things that had been on my bucket list for so long. And it was a huge accomplishment for me because number one, I took the whole course. I really loved it. I learned so much from it. But probably the bigger accomplishment for me was the fact that I paid for it and I invested in myself. I've told you guys before that I'm a little bit thrifty when it comes to money. And I always thought I can do this on my own. I got this, I got this, I got this. But after years of, running these small businesses and really having sort of a small outlook on what I could do, Marie Forleo Schools changed all of that for me. So it was a huge accomplishment for me in the business sense because I finally did this thing that I wanted to do. But it was also a really huge personal accomplishment that I betted on myself. I put my money where my mouth was. I had skin in the game and I paid a very large lump sum of money to invest in myself. And from that experience, I know it gave me so much confidence. It gave me a clear idea of what I was going to do. I learned from it as well because halfway through the course, I realized, this might not be the idea that I really want. So in fact, in 2023, one of my big goals is to retake it all again, because that's one of the advantages of the program, but retake it all again now that I have a super clear focus of what I want to do and what's to come for me. And I'm going to share a little bit about that later. Another huge accomplishment for me this year was this show. I had wanted to do it. I knew I really wanted to put out, weekly content. I started off as the podcast, which I love, and that's what I'm all about, but it got picked up by a network, and then I added video, which I also love, and it was just so organic. It made so much sense. And I'm extremely proud of that accomplishment. But what I'm also really proud is that I have continued to produce my weekly content even when life got busy. Even when things got tough. That was the promise to myself. That was actually the bigger goal. Starting the show was a little bit scary. Putting it out in the world was a little nerve-wracking, but the fact that I kept at it, that is the huge accomplishment. There are so many people that start things, podcasts in particular, and I think I heard a stat the other day that most podcasts don't even get to 10 episodes. Well, I am at 35 or 36 as I'm recording this right now, and I do not see an end in sight. I'm continuing to grow, I'm continuing to build, but it has been a huge accomplishment for me for this year. Then when it comes to the personal side, how do you see what accomplishments you had in your household or your family or your person? Like maybe you had some health goals that you really wanted. So really take the time to look at that. For me, one of my very favorite things to do is for many years at Christmas time, I would go through all the pictures through the whole year and I would create this calendar for my grandmother. She's since passed, but now I still create the calendar for my mom. And she loves it. It's part of our tradition. But I think for me, the better part of that tradition is the fact that I get to go through all the photos through the whole year. And I get to look at my children's faces and mine, and I relive all those amazing memories. So if you're looking at how can you look at your accomplishments, I am having an issue saying that word today. If you are looking at how you can see that through your personal life, then I say look at all your photos. Go through your phone, see all those memories, relive them. Do it with your family, do it with your partner, with your kids, and really go through those details of oh, remember this was amazing. Oh, we got to do that again. If you can go through your photos and just have such great memories, then it's been a good year. The second thing you want to look at in your year in review is I want you to think about all of the daily responsibilities you have. If you're looking at through a business lens, then think about all those like little tasks. Are you getting them done? Are they too overwhelming? Are they actually moving the needle forward? So many times as business owners, we do so many things and realize it's not really giving us the results we want. I'll give you an example. So I was really keen in the last quarter to focus on my social media. I wanted to grow my Instagram. I was growing my Facebook. I was putting a lot of content out there, spending a lot of time. And all of a sudden my account was hacked and everything was taken away from me. There's going to be an episode on that one later. And it was such a huge lesson because here I had spent all this time and effort and money to build the social media that literally at any moment can be taken away from you. So I realized that maybe that isn't that big of a daily task that needs to be in my business. Yes, I love social media. I still believe in it. I think it's a really important part of your business, but it was taking so much time from some of my other daily tasks that maybe weren't getting done or not getting done as best as they could be, that it was a good lesson learned that now social media, it's in those daily tasks, but it's definitely not the biggest priority. Also, when you're thinking daily tasks, think about how you feel when you do some of these daily tasks. Like, are there things that you're sort of dreading to do? And maybe that's a sign that like, okay, it's time to outsource or really reevaluating if you need to do those certain things. And there are some things that definitely need to get done. Accounting, getting your bills paid, all of that stuff. But is there a way that you can do it that makes you feel a little bit better about doing it? I think that's really important as entrepreneurs to always kind of check in and see how you're doing, how you're feeling when you're doing these daily tasks, because you're doing them daily. You want to make sure it makes sense. Same thing goes with your family and your personal life. What are the things that you do daily? Is it making you feel better? Is it making you feel good? I try my very best to do my daily workout and my daily run with my dog. It's become very clear to me that I need those things. It started as something of like, I wanted to, feel healthy, but then I realized it was about more than that. It was that piece of me that I needed. It was a mental health thing. It was a self-care thing. So it has definitely started and stayed as a priority for me. It's a daily thing that, yes, I need in my life. If I don't have it, I don't feel 100% right. When you look at your family, are there times you're doing too much? I mean, I have totally been that mom who like overscheduled their child, or have watched my kids overschedule themselves, joining this team, joining that, being a part of this, being a part of that, helping out. Like, at what point do you have to say, listen, we're doing way too much, right? We want to slow back down and really check in with ourselves. So it's really important on those daily tasks that you're considering how you're feeling every step of the way. And also important to make that time for you, for your family, to make sure that self-care is happening. It's something that we really sort of gloss over, especially as business owners. When we have an extra time here and time there, we think we got to get more done. I got to finish this. I got to finish that. But it's that bigger picture that we're looking at in this year in review. So yes, if we're getting all these things done and we're, life is great, but we know we're not really taking care of ourselves. Maybe we're not being as present as we want with our family. Maybe we're not doing the things we wanted to do on this side. Then the big picture doesn't make sense. We want to look at that big picture in this year in review. So looking at daily tasks, what things working, what's not working, where can we make changes with our daily tasks that make more sense? Is there something that you never get done and you're really supposed to? Maybe you need to have a reminder. Me and my watch reminder, my phone reminders. Maybe it's something that you need that little bit more help with, but really looking at those daily tasks and see what's benefiting you and what's not. All right, so the third thing you're looking at in your year in review is you want to look at your skills and any areas that you can improve upon. So I'm not looking at failures, I'm not looking at things like that, but actually personal skills. And maybe this goes back to some of those responsibilities. Is there some things that you're like, ooh, I wish I was a little bit better at this? Things would be a little bit easier if I could do, A or B or whatever, a little bit faster. And maybe you do have the time next year to schedule out and improve those skills. I am a huge fan of always just bettering myself. I love reading personal help books. I love reading business books. I love listening to my podcasts. So I've made sure that's been a part of my daily routine, usually on my daily run. I think they both go hand in hand. That's probably why I like it so much. But are there ways you can have that time to really better yourself and your skills? How can you improve on certain things? And I think that goes the same with your health and your personal life as well. Are you making time to improve on some of your skills? Are you saying you want to do one thing, but you never quite get it done? So really kind of looking at that whole picture of how you can better yourself, better your family, better the experience so you feel good is very important. All right, so the fourth thing when you're looking at your year in review, it's to remember your purpose. Remember why you started this business in the first place. Maybe you wanted financial freedom. Maybe you wanted time freedom. Maybe you wanted to be your own boss. But remember why you wanted to do this. Remember who you wanted to help. Remember what you wanted to do. And I think it's a great time to just really reflect on that. Are you doing those things? Are you representing yourself the way you wanted to? I told you before, I started a project this year because I thought it was going to be easy. I thought it was going to be quick. And then I got halfway through it. Actually, I finished the whole project and I started selling it. And I wasn't excited to sell it. And I wasn't excited to support the people I was trying to sell to. So to me, that was a huge lesson learned that this wasn't the project I needed to be working on. So I stopped taking my time out of all the other things I wanted to do, and I pushed it away and I said no, and I saved it for maybe another day, who knows? But if not, I'm okay with that too. And I think that is the key, is you need to know what you're okay with and what you can say goodbye to, because we can't do everything. It's not possible. So you really want to spend your time and focus your energy and focus your best self on the things that you really, really want to do. When you're thinking about remembering your purpose with your family and yourself and your body, it's that same thing. Like if you want to spend time with your family, that's why you wanted to be an entrepreneur, then really look at what has happened this year. Are you going to the events you said you were going to? Are you being present? Do you find that you're checking your phone a lot? Maybe that's going to help you decide what next year is going to look like. Maybe you are going to set boundaries that you can only work to a certain time of day, that your phone can only go in a certain space. I just recently changed up where I had been working. I had loved working sort of in the main level on the kitchen table with all the action going on, but I've decided I don't want that anymore. No, not for 2023. 2023 means work goes on my desk and it's focus time, and that's what I'm going to be looking into. And when work is done, it gets put away. It's going to be closed down for the day, and then I'm focusing on those other things. When my computer was always there, it was like calling me. It's like, hey, come do a little bit more. Oh, quick email, do this, do that. Where if it's put away and it's done, I know that that is how I can just put it aside and not worry about it. So really remembering your purpose and how that reflects in how you feel and with your family will help you create goals and boundaries in the coming new year. So the fifth thing I want you to look at, and I've talked a little bit already, but this is when you're really going to delve into this, is what are some of the biggest lessons you have learned from this year? So I told you my story. I was focusing on the wrong things. I know I'm a person that gets very distracted. A lot of things are happening. I like to try and do everything all the time. I like to do the things that I know I'm good at because I think it's going to be an easy fix. And I learned I can't do that anymore. I don't have enough time. I don't have the time to build the business I want to end. I want to spend time with my family. I want to build the business I actually love and want to do. And that's what I want to focus on. So for me, moving into 2023, I have some huge goals. I have some important dates that I'm actually going to say goodbye to some of those other projects to by then. I have put them up so I can see the visual, so I know I am going to make it happen. But I wouldn't have come to that conclusion if I didn't learn some of the lessons I did this year. I don't think I would be as focused if I didn't finally say, hold up, I don't want to do this project anymore. This is not what's making me happy. I want to do the project I've always wanted to do. I want to teach my musical theater course. I want to create it because I know what it can do for people. I have seen the, huge change in children when they learn the confidence of musical theater. I know this online course I am creating is something the parent can do with their child. It's going to be an incredible experience. It's going to help kids in such a fun, creative way. And it's something that I love to do. Those are the people I want to support. Yes, I will still teach some of my courses on how to get comfortable on camera, how to do this, how to do that, because I enjoy it, but it's not going to be my biggest focus. My biggest focus is going to be that program, and I am so excited for it. So that was my biggest lesson from 2022. So this is the time where I want you to really start brainstorming. What were some of the biggest lessons from 2022? Is there some you don't even want to talk about because it hurts? I told you a few episodes ago that I had a friend of mine who didn't make it to her 40th birthday. And it was a huge eye-opener that we don't have all the time in the world. If I want to do some of these big projects, I'm going to do it now. I want to believe in myself. I know I can do it. So I'm just going to make it happen. But I have to set the time and focus to do it. That's the other thing I learned this year. I learned that unless I really set things clearly for myself, I can't expect it to get done. I had always made goals, but they weren't very clear and specific. So moving into 2023, my goals are going to be so clear. They're going to be visual because that's how I learn. That's how I take things in, but they are going to be there all the time. So I know what they are. I'm working towards them. I'm thinking about them. I am dreaming of them all the time, and I'm not doubting myself. I know this is what I want to do. I know I'm going to make it happen. So I want you to take any of those lessons you've had this year, really work them out, journal them out. I've told you before, sometimes that's the best way for me to really get to an issue. If I feel it in the pit of my stomach, like, there's something about this problem, I journal it out. I journal it again. I get dig deeper. I said, why? And I keep answering that question. That's what I want you to do about these lessons learned. Think about that. It goes the same for your health. It goes the same for your personal life. It goes the same. What are some lessons that you learned this year? I had some goals in terms of like my weight, and I feel like, okay, I didn't quite get there, but my biggest lesson learned for this year was that I think I was not giving my body the nutrients it needs. I think I was so fixated on certain things that I can't really control, but I need to go sort of back to the drawing board and work with somebody to figure out what is it that my body needs. So that's something else that I'm definitely looking at in 2023. But look at those lessons you learned, really break them down and see how you can use those lessons to help this next year be so amazing. Okay, so the sixth thing I want you to think about in your year in review is really think about the people that have affected you this year. Are there relationships that really worked within your business? Are there relationships that really worked in your personal life? And build them from there. Maybe there's people you're missing. I did an episode a few weeks ago about building those business relationships and really kind of thinking about who you're missing in your inner circle that will help you build your business, that you can help others build their business. Do you have your accountability partner? Do you have a mentor that you really connect with? So really think about the people this year that you know, what worked, what didn't, but also where you're missing things. And then I would start brainstorming some people that you want to connect with in the coming year. Maybe you do need a mentor that has done something similar to your business and you want to chat with them. Who knows? All you can do is ask. All you can do is try, right? So make that list of who you really want to connect with coming into the new year, who you connected with this year, and also know that sometimes it's okay for relationships to just not stay as strong. It's okay for things to fizzle out. You might be moving into a new season. You might want some different relationships to really help you focus on what's next. When it comes to personal and other things as well, I believe it goes the same. Think about those people this year that you were able to spend your time with. Think about those memories, go through those photos and enjoy it. And then think about who you want to spend more time with. I've told you before that I kind of am sad that my kids don't spend a ton of time with my dad. He's really busy. And I know one of the lessons I learned this year is if I want to make those special moments happen, I have to organize it. I have to, make the plans. I have to get everything all together. And sometimes it gets pushed down to the bottom of my list. But if I want it to happen, I've got to set the time to make it happen. So think of even people in your personal life that you're like, oh man, I want to reconnect with that person. I haven't heard from them so long. I want to know what's happening with them. So create that list. Really, really think about who you're going to connect with in the new year, and then make time and schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Have a reminder pop up and say like, hey, call so-and-so, send so-and-so a message. And it would be amazing to see what happens in those relationships and how you can reconnect with people that you might have always been like, oh yeah, I want to connect with them. I want to do this. This is the year that you can make it happen. All right, number 7, when we're looking at our year in review, are there any new practices that you want to try in the new year? You've seen lessons learned, you've seen some of the goals that worked and didn't work, your daily responsibilities. Maybe there's something new you want to try, switch things up and see where it goes from there. For the longest time, I had always done my workout after I took the kids to school, everything got settled. And I realized I was not loving how I felt after that. I just wasn't feeling like I was getting everything done. I felt overwhelmed by the end of the day. So I started getting up earlier. And I'm one of those people that really is not an early riser. I, for many, many years, was just always woken up by my kids or the pets or whatever it was. I didn't set an alarm. But just this past year, sort of halfway through the year, I started waking up earlier, doing my workout right off the bat, and really energizing my body. So it was a new practice for me, and it's something I'm enjoying. It's something that's working for now. And if it stops working, then I can change it again. But really think about your business and your personal life. What are some of the practices that I'm like, maybe I want to try something new. Maybe I want to, test this out and see how it works. Not only are you thinking about new practices or skills or things like that, but are there some tools that you can start utilizing for your business or your personal life that you want to start trying out in the new year? I mean, come on, there's an app for anything. So whether if it's you want to drink more water or you want to, maybe do a social media content campaign, whatever it may be, why don't you start researching some of those tools, some of those things that might help you make it a little bit easier in the new year? All right, number 8, and we're almost done, but this one's a really important one. What do you need to leave behind in this year? So start off with business first. We've talked about some of our accomplishments. Maybe this is where we write down some of our failures. Maybe this is where we start reflecting on some of those goals we didn't get and why we didn't get them. Remember, I want you to look at the whole picture. So maybe you didn't reach that goal because it didn't make sense. That's what happened to me, right? It wasn't the thing I wanted to be working on. So no wonder I didn't succeed at it. It wasn't right. That was one of my lessons learned. Now I can move on to the new year knowing what is next. But I really want you to take that time to think about what you need to, release from 2022, because there's going to be some things. It's going to happen in your business. It's going to happen in your personal life. Really start brainstorming. What are some of those things that you don't need to bring into the new year with you? Maybe you thought something was going to work a certain way and it didn't. Say goodbye to it. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a great life. We'll see you later. With your personal life too, with your family, all those things. Maybe there's something like didn't quite work out, and that's fine. So really take that time to think of what you can release, say goodbye, get rid of in 2022, and know that when you go into this new year, when you're creating those goals, when you're making those big plans, you've said goodbye to the other stuff. You don't have. All right, number 9, we are at the very last one for your personal year in review. What are your next steps? I don't need you to write every single goal very specifically, because we're going to have probably an episode talking about goals and how we create them and how we make a manageable, amazing, inspiring goals. We don't want to do that yet. I just want you to create a full vision of what you want to happen next. So this is a great time to journal and write through. Maybe you want to think of a prompt. One of my favorite ones, which also comes with one from one of my favorites, Marie Forleo, is wouldn't it be cool if? And you just start brainstorming all the things that you wish might happen. And I want you not to just brainstorm them, but I want you to feel them and visualize them and really know what that would mean. I want you to think of what is next. If there was no restrictions, if money wasn't an object, if time wasn't an object, if all those excuses and objections and all the realities didn't exist, what do you want your next steps to be? What do you want this year to be? How do you want to feel? What's it going to look like next year when you're swiping through that phone and looking through all the memories? Did you go on an incredible vacation? Did you take X amount of weeks off of work because you planned ahead and were able to do so? Did you feel financially free? Did you have time to do all the things? Were you taking care of yourself? So really create the whole picture of what you want to happen next. Think of yourself, your business, your family, all those things intertwined because they're so connected. And I want you to just think, imagine, dream, and make it as absolutely incredible as it should be. Because if we can think it and dream it and throw it out in the world, then why not? It can happen. It totally can happen. I know it. Okay, friends, well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love, love, love to hear from you if you actually do your year in review. I know I'm going to spend some time in the very near future doing my year in review. And if I learn anything else, I will share it with you. But hop on therenaissancemama.com, continue our conversation. I want to hear from you. Do you do a year in review? Are you going to do one this year? Share even the best lesson learned that you are taking away from this episode. Okay, friends, we'll see you there later. Bye for now.